And I think it also is reflected in education. Like, I think being in like public schools where evolution is being taught, students are just taught to take their word for it, which I think results in what Noelle said, and just even adults now just like hearing something on news and immediately thinking that it's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I thought about when I heard this. Take nobody's word for it, see for yourself. It's quite the opposite of what we teach in school, I think. Mm-hmm. Do you think there's any circumstance in our school system that will try to teach people to like, oh hey, this is a suggestion, but don't believe it. You need to find out for yourself, because it really doesn't seem like that.
No. Because there really is that current, especially in the scientific community, where it's all good to experiment and progress further, and in that it's take nobody's word, discover for yourself. But when it comes to the core beliefs of most of these scientific organizations, it's really we hold these core beliefs. You have to hold these as well, regardless of whether or not they're proven or if they're theories or facts. You have to hold these in order to interact with the rest of this community, and an equal footing at least.
It seems like the new motto is take nobody's word for it, do it yourself, unless they're smarter than you. Because if they're smarter than you, then they know more than you,
and even like smarter than you is an assumption in that case. Like if they have authority in whatever community, and then believe them. Yeah, it's question. Yeah, it's take nothing for granted, question everything except for authority figures. Yeah. That's, I think, the way it goes.
Do you think it would be beneficial to teach students this motto in public school, and to have them not take everything that we teach them for granted, just have them try to reject everything or try to make everything their own decision?
In elementary school, I don't think that would be a smart idea, because then you're going to question everything, even gravity, and that's something that has been proven for thousands of years. So I think in some circumstances, yes, you should. But at the same time, there are some things that probably don't need to be talked about like that. And if you talk about, if you're constantly questioning things that are so simple, then you're eventually just going to not end up learning anything, except for the smallest little bit where you could have learned a lot more.
I think the opposite, actually.
Yeah.
I think having that ability to question things inspires you to do more research into each thing that you're taught and just get a better grasp of what exactly is gravity. That was just an example, but like I think it inspires more of just a self-driven education.
Yeah, and if you search the proper way, you'll come to that same conclusion, as long as that conclusion is correct to begin with. So.
Yeah. Well, but what about not every student's the same? Like as the people that we are, and like in the environment we've been brought up in, I think that's how we would react. Mm-hmm. And like especially you two, you're very like thoughtful and like research driven. But like, what about just the general like the other people in our generation and the students in regular school systems who don't necessarily have morals or principles, varying degrees and levels, and various upbringings, various like family situations. Do you think that everybody would respond that way?
And that's the thing, is that the current education system is not set up with infrastructure to handle this kind of teaching at all, not even close.
And that's why I think it could be bedlam if it was
exactly. And that goes back to your point where we shouldn't the idea that we shouldn't have people or tell children to think for themselves until they're past elementary school. But then the question becomes, okay, where do we tell them to question everything? At what point? Because at that point, it's pretty well ingrained in them to just believe.
I would say to start that in high school, because then you can start teaching them to do that right before they go to college, and then they can learn more about more complicated subjects so that they can then question those.
But at that point, oftentimes, especially I guess like Noel said, we have had the benefit of private educations and even more familiar educations. But when it comes at that point, most people most kids our age are like, we're just writing down this class, we're just learning for the next test to get past over and over. So it doesn't. At that point, most of them don't care enough. So even if they were told, question this, they're like, I'm not going to question this. What a waste of time. When I could get this done as quickly as possible and then do something else.
Well, and that's what I agree with. I agree that with the way that our current, like the curriculum and the methods by which students are currently taught, just across the board, are not suited to that kind of thought. Mm-hmm. But I mean, like us. Okay, so let's say hypothetically, everybody does classical education. First, the grammar school, the elementary school, you're learning all the facts, right? And then as you start moving into 8th grade and high school, you're learning, now what those facts mean, and then now the final stage is we're learning how to communicate and argue those, and think for ourselves. So I think that if it's set up like that, it works great, but considering the way it's all set up now, just the status quo, it wouldn't, I agree, they'd be like, why should I care? And I mean, I have friends who are, and they really don't care at this point, just like, whatever, I just need to finish up.
So you do, so basically what you're saying is that it would be a lot better if we instituted this motto into the public school or general school education, except for maybe the earlier stages where we should just teach them some simple stuff that's indisputable, like some math, which obviously you can't really question math because it's just kind of
I think I'm saying that the only way to implement this statement would be to change the complete structure of the school. If you were going to have a classical school, yes, this motto's great. But if you're going to have a normal elementary school, high school, or whatever, then no, in this case, the structure just doesn't allow for it.
Yeah, you'd have to change the entire education system into the classical method.